What's good with you people? Coming to you here again on another blessed Sunday. Wanted to hop on here and discuss some of the same shit I've been repetitively discussing for a year now almost. The masquerades in the system. This great mass debate. The design of our medical indoctrination. What they're leaving out. What they've removed from our medical establishments, from our medical schools. Let me start with here. If you go to your doctor and your doctor's not addressing microbiology, nutritional education, deficiencies, naturally boosting the immune system, sunlight, water, the significance of breathing, the significance of sleep, the significance of stress hormones. If they're not discussing these topics, these subjects, in regards to your health, they're a corporate puppet, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether knowingly or unknowingly. That is what they are. They have been indoctrinated into the synthetic chemical-based industry is what has a chokehold on our medical education, our medical applications. It's bullshit. And it's all to fuel their corporate interest. And that's their drugs. That's their pharmaceuticals. That's their vaccinations. That's their surgeries. It's a masquerade. Mask, social distancing, gloves, sanitization. These are their focus. Masks don't do shit. Get on my Facebook page. Let's see, today is the 9th. It would be August 7th. August 8th, yesterday, I posted the history and science behind mask and medicine. It's a documentary. It's the unbiased, the flip side to both sides of the coin. It explains it all. It gives pre-reviews that are in the medical literature. It's within medical establishments where they admittingly tell you about the mask, the different ones, the cloth, the N95s, the fucking shields. It breaks it all down. And what these masks are doing are by far more hazardous to the wearer than it is beneficial to the ones we're supposedly be protecting. The ones with the pre-existing conditions, the older folks. Because what's happening, these masks do not stop pathogens. The only way it filters pathogens and particles and solvents and toxins and bacteria and the virus, which is utter bullshit, and I'll get into that here in a second. What it does catch is the droplets in our breath. And upon wearing these masks for any form of a prolonged period of catching these droplets, it creates a moist environment. Guess what this moist environment is? It is an incubated condition for any infectious organism these pathogens to host and thrive in, host and multiply. So guess what happens? These pathogens host in this moist environment, multiply, and it's right over our face. So what happens? As this shit multiplies and is hosting over our face, we breathe this shit back in our fucking mouth. We breathe this shit back down into our lungs. This is inhibiting our body from doing what it's naturally supposed to be doing and expelling this bullshit from our body. Watch that documentary I was just talking about. The history and science on mask and in medicine. Because it explains all the statistics, the pre-reviews, the studies that they've done, and they tell you the numbers on it. How more people are getting sick from wearing these masks than they are protecting, than it is preventing others from catching these illnesses. Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how long you wear a mask, how long we wear a mask, no matter how far we stay apart from each other, no matter how much sanitization and killing of germs and bacteria that we do, pathogens, solvents, toxins, foreign particles are going to forever be in the air. You're never going to be able to hide from this shit. So what are you going to do? You're going to wear a fucking mask for the rest of your life? That's fucking not only illogical, not only ignorant, but fucking flat out stupid. You're putting blind faith in establishments. You're putting blind faith in their narrative without even questioning shit because somebody in a fucking white coat told you. Because they have a piece of paper hanging on their walls. Because they've been indoctrinated into a system, you put blind faith in them. Blind faith leads to needless suffering. And that goes across the fucking boards. That's with government. That's with religion. That's with the medical establishment. That's with schooling. That's with every fucking thing. We are given a cognitive brain to ask questions. And we have this new thing. It's been out for a little while now. It's called the interweb. The World Wide Web. We have endless resources. Every fucking pre-review. Every fucking thing that's been filmed. Everything that has went through all these establishments are at our fingertips. And yes, they've skewered this because the internet and Google, YouTube, Yahoo, all these platforms are biased with their search engines. They bump all this false bullshit to the top because they're being paid by these fucking organizations, these corporations. So you have to learn to read between the lines. You have to learn ways to word your questions. To unbiasedly seek the truth. Because the universe is unbiased. The universe merely reflects what we put forth. Ask and ye shall receive. But don't think that you ask a question and the first one at the very top you read, oh, that's the truth. Nah, skim through. Read independent. Ones that don't have any interest in results. Because that's where the true science is coming in. That's where the true studies, reviews, facts, scientifically proven evidence is coming in. And we've got so many fucking doctors, so many fucking registered nurses, microbiologists, immunologists, virologists, epidemiologists speaking out on this shit. But they're being swept under the rug. They're being called quackery because they're addressing it from a nutritional standpoint. The creation of mitochondria, the balancement of homeostasis, the creation of probiotics and prebiotics. Because the virus theory Pay mind to the word theory. This takes conspiracy theory to a whole nother fucking level. Because they use this reverse psychology. Anybody that questions the narrative of the mainstream are deemed crazy, are deemed conspiracy theorists. Well, guess what? I remember a point in time in my youth, in school, in science class, right? We were told to form a hypothesis. And what is a fucking hypothesis? It is a theory. It is using logical, critical thinking and wondering the results we could get, how we test these theories, test our hypothesis, and get unsound, unbiased, scientifically proven facts and results. So what the fuck is wrong with the word conspiracy? If anybody out there don't think an individual or group of individuals do not conspire, you better fucking read your history books again, guys, because you're destined to repeat that same history. You're destined for failure. You're destined for needless suffering at your own fucking hands because of blind faith. So the virus theory, okay? This theory is that we contract a virus. A virus is airborne. No, this is so fucking false. There's so many holes in this theory that it's not funny, but the establishments, the educational system push this shit because it is fueled by the corporate interest. It fuels their synthetic chemicals. It fuels their surgeries. It fuels their bullshit. They sell us a cure that never cures us. Because what they're doing, they're creating lifelong customers. They don't address the root causes, like I said in the beginning. They don't address deficiencies. They don't address overacidity. They don't address unbalanced homeostasis. They don't address mitochondria. They don't address microbiology with Candida albicans and prebiotics and probiotics. They don't address those factors. They act like your dietary consumption has nothing to do with it. Your thought process has nothing to do with it. Your exposures to your environment has nothing to do with it. It's that you just breathe in and this virus is so contagious. And first off, let me tell you, they cannot differentiate. I've asked so many fucking not microbiologists, but medical doctors and registered nurses. I've been asking them to line me up with their colleagues, the microbiologists, the virologists, the immunologists, the epidemiologists. Line me up with them. Tag them in the post that I'm putting here, okay? And let them answer this question for me, since you can't, because I have yet to get one fucking answer from any of them. Differentiate. Show me a microscopic picture of any one of the fucking viruses. The Corona 1, the Corona 2, 3, etc. The Zika virus, the SARS, MERS, COVID-19, the new COVID-19 2 plus. Pick one of them. Show me the microscopic picture of what they're identifying under a microscope. Not a theorized model, but the actual what they're identifying. And then after you show me that virus, show me the counter antibody next to it. And you tell me, what is the difference? What are you identifying that is different? And this is where their PTR test is being exposed. They claim there's another antibody test. Why is there two tests? It should have one fucking test showing the differentials by what they're measuring. Because what they're measuring is a natural part of our body. It's called exosome cells. This is what they identify as a virus. This is what they identify as an antibody. It's the same fucking thing. They cannot tell the difference. You know what how they classify and they name these things? solely based off of biological symptoms. Just like when the COVID first come out, it was all flu-like symptoms. It was like the flu. Not the flu, though. It was like the flu. It's so much worse than the flu. Well, now that these numbers are finally coming in and all these doctors and medical staff are coming out and telling how they're telling them to classify COVID cases, the numbers that got fudged are finally coming out that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't. They absolutely don't. None of it makes sense. None of them are being held accountable for this shit neither. So my point being, this is how microbiology, virology, immunology, epidemiology, you address all this shit by microbiology. All those different branches of understanding viruses, diseases, immunity should be based, because it is based scientifically off of microbiology. The foods we eat have a fermentation process through our digestive tract. And depending on what you eat, if you eat live plants, it creates a hydrogen-rich bacteria, which works in harmony. It resonates with our body. It helps to create mitochondria, which mitochondria is merely blood cells, red blood cells. When they get charged with electrons and they're provided oxygen, so the red cell gets oxygenated and charged, it becomes mitochondria. It becomes a productive cell that can rebuild. They're not teaching this. Or the fact of the matter, exosome cell, their sole purpose is to free flow around our bodily fluids. It can be found, exosome cells can be found in our blood. It can be found in our stomach acid. It can be found in our saliva. It can be found in our piss. It can be found in all bodily fluids. Snot. This is where they're testing, because exosome cells are more commonly found at the back of the nasal passage, because that's where the last line of defense before it gets into our lungs, before it gets into our air pathways. These cells are designed to absorb pathogens, foreign particles, toxins, solvents, and it's designed to mutate. This cell mutates. This is where you hear about viruses mutating. This is how this is possible. Okay? Depending on the bacterial environment, after this exosome cell is contaminated, it is going to mutate into one of two things. If the bacterial environment it has to feed off of is hydrogen rich, it is going to create prebiotics and probiotics, which that prebiotic and probiotic, that exosome cell eating that, it is going to create an antibody that works in harmony with our body, and it teaches our immune system, the nerve endings, that this is how we beat this particle. This is how we beat this toxin, this pathogen, this solvent during future exposures. Then after the body has the material to create an antibody from the prebiotics and probiotics and teaches our body how to create antibodies, future exposures, our pancreas can then create proteolytic enzymes, which is antibodies. It no longer needs the material. It no longer needs that bacterial environment to create that antibody, because it has the blueprint to that particular solvent, particular toxin, particular pathogen. Okay, and this is the problem. This is where they're diverting away from addressing the root causes, because our problem is, and what this whole pandemic, scamdemic should be exposing, is how malnutritioned we are, how overacidic we are, and it's all based on the fucking foods we're eating. We eat an abundance of fruit or fucking meats and cheeses and breads and sugars and alcohol. All of this is an acidic-based molecular structure. We eat all this acidic bullshit, and it creates an acidic bacteria called Candida albicans. It makes our body, our homeostasis, become unbalanced. Our red blood cells are no longer mitochondria because it's used up the oxygen. It has no energy. So therefore it creates, and that's this contaminated exosome cell has this acidic bacteria to feed off of. And it eats it and it mutates that contaminated cell into a virus. The body creates the virus. We're being taught the body contracts the virus. Bullshit. That's utter bullshit. That's the virus theory. Because what happens, our body says, okay, we don't have the bacterial environment to protect ourselves and create antibodies. Therefore, we are going to eat up all this genetic material, all these toxins and solvents. We're going to compromise our mucous membrane to coat this virus, and we are going to expel it from our body. And this is when we get these biological symptoms. This is our body's defensive mechanism trying to address the toxins and the overacidic properties. This is why our temperature rises and we sweat. This is why our gut creates an abundance of acid and we puke. This is why snot and phlegm builds up in our throat, our nasal passage, our mouth, and we cough and we sneeze. This is our body's natural way of trying to expose this shit, expel this shit. A virus is natural. A virus works really in benefit to our body, trying to correct the imbalancement. But this is what our indoctrinated medical staff either isn't educated to, they're ignorant to it, or they just flat out don't care. Their protocol doesn't say to do it, they don't have to do it. But I'm not putting a blanket label over all the registered nurses, all the medical doctors, because I know a lot of them get into the field because they want to create health. They want to create better for their fellow man. But if they don't think outside of that indoctrinated box that they've been forced to conform within for a paycheck, they're going to continue to perpetuate this bullshit. I'm not even going to get into vaccinations. That's been utter bullshit since the beginning, because a lot of what I just explained with the creation of antibodies, it has nothing to do with it. Just like masks has nothing to do with it, just like gloves and sanitization and social distancing does not address the root causes to our problems. It's utter bullshit. It don't have to be this way. We live in the day and age of endless knowledge at our fingertips and advancements in technology. Start utilizing it. Start asking your own questions. Because the sole purpose that we even exist as a species still is because of our body's ability to do what I've been explaining, and that's to create antibodies against infectious organisms. It's because our body has an ability to flush toxins and acidic properties from within to without. Our bodies are truly magnificent machines that have the ability for cellular regeneration. It can rebuild any fucking part. I've seen cancers, diseases, and disorders personally be addressed by addressing the root causes of the things I've already mentioned. Nutritional properties, exercising the body's ability to flush, kickstarting cellular regeneration. I've seen, like I said, cancers, diseases, and disorders be holistically approached and efficiently apply certain methods, and the body just corrects itself. Because cancer, I'm going to give this one in a quick nutshell. Cancer is merely fungus. Cancer is the body's imbalancement and doesn't have the resources to deal and do, which has to do with mitochondria, which has to do with nutritional properties and deficiencies. It don't have the resources to deal with dead cellular structure. Therefore, it doesn't deal with the dead cells. And it multiplies. And as long as the homeostasis balancement is not corrected, as long as it does not have nutritional properties coming in for the rebuilding materials and the creation of mitochondria, the body will continue to allow for dead cells to multiply and build up and build up and build up. That's cancer. Just like anytime you can get online and look this shit up. Look at all the surgeries where they've surgically removed cancer. Guess what? It's always white. And guess what happens if you take a piece of fruit and you cut it in half, exposing the inside? That fruit's starting to die, right? And when it's exposed to oxygen, guess what starts to happen? Fungus starts to grow on it. What color is the fungus? You guessed it, white. This is the exact same thing. There's so many flaws and red flags right under our noses that people just ain't acknowledging, just ain't seeing, just ain't paying mind to. And the fact of the matter is, until we start asking questions, we're going to continue to perpetuate and feed their monster. But it don't have to be this way. And I ain't even touched on the stress hormones. How thoughts induce biochemicals. And when we're in this scared state, afraid of catching this virus, afraid of other people being close to us, it kickstarts cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And it kickstarts the body into fight or flight mode. And when the body's in a fight or flight mode, it's saying we have an external threat that we have to address. And this is where all of our oxygen and all of our energy is being pushed into our limbs to either fight this shit, fight something, or run from it. And while our body is putting all the oxygen and energy into this, our ability to protect ourselves externally, it shuts off all of our internal things. It stops rebuilding. It stops creating antibodies. It shuts off the immune system. It stops dealing with toxins. And obviously it's going to inhibit our immunity responses. And that's what all this fucking mainstream scare tactic bullshits, the falsified of numbers of COVID cases, COVID deaths. It's a bunch of circuses. Stop buying tickets to their circus. Look into the things I've mentioned, because only you can prevent this shit. You have to be accountable for your creations. And that's on a conscious level, that's on a subconscious level, that's on an unconscious level. But the thing is, when you're conscious, you can counter your unconscious, you can counter your subconscious, because you have a hold of the wheel. You're not on autopilot. All right, people. As I always tell you, knowledge is key. Your health is your foundation. Your belief is your success. And your wisdom is your power. Be accountable for your creations. Be conscious to your true God-given abilities and potentials. Because only you can change it. You are the master of your universe. You are the creator of your destiny. You are the captain to your ship. You are the artist to your canvas. And I hope all create blessed days for themselves. I love you guys. One love.